David, I just wanted to know, so are review scores even relevant anymore when it comes to video games? So this topic was kind of spurred on from the most recent news of IGN's controversial review score of giving Battlefield 6 a 5 out of 10. So a lot of other news aggregates have given it a much higher score, and it's probably because they have included multiplayer when factoring that in. And just to be clear, IGN has only reviewed the campaign, and at the time of recording, the multiplayer review is in progress. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be much higher than a 5. It could be the classic IGN 7. But just to kick things off, David, I'm just going to start by asking you a direct question. Do you actually care about review scores of a game?
Really interesting question you pose. And when we were obviously discussing, when you put this topic up, I had a long think about it. And the short answer is no. I really don't care about game reviews anymore. There was a time, I would say during the 360 era, where game reviews, I did care about them. But over the course of time, they kind of just feel irrelevant now, because back to obviously the most critical, Battlefield 6 review given a 5 out of 10. What's the point of reviewing a campaign and not the multiplayer? Why are we doing separate reviews for everything?
Why not just review the whole package?
Exactly. No one's buying Battlefield 6 to play the campaign. They might be buying it to play the campaign.
I'm sure that there's people who want to experience the full package,
I'm sure.
But to me, that's kind of just telling me that they want to be able to get the review out as quickly as possible to get as much attention as possible, which is fine. I mean, it's a dog eat dog world out there, David. We gotta compete with so many other people trying to basically say the same shit online. That's just the nature of it. But yeah, I kind of miss when IGN, or just in general, reviews were just like the whole package rather than just, okay, here's the campaign, here's the multiplayer, here's whatever side sloppy piece we're going to be including.
Especially with Call of Duty, they do one for the single player campaign, one for the multiplayer, and then one for the zombies. And then they give it an overall. Yeah. And I'm just like, just review the whole thing.
Just put it in one video. Yeah.
Yeah.
I align with what you just said. So I think the IGN reviews, and I keep saying IGN, but it is just general review scores from news aggregates. It could be GameSpot, it could be whatever. But I feel like a lot of those reviews were so important, probably to the early 2010s, late 2000s. Like, I used to actually enjoy just sitting through and watching playlists of all these new games.
I did too.
Game reviews. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is so exciting. And it felt like, I felt like back then it was exciting to have something that felt more official, like official journalistic pieces of content going up. And it's like, oh, wow. It's like, yeah, this feels proper and professional. But I think these days, I really don't care about a lot of that stuff. And I also feel like a lot of these reviews, and this could be me just kind of like mellowing out, but I also think that a lot of these reviews are a little bit too critical, or a little bit like just trying to find things that are a bit nitpicky, or things that
just to stand out.
Yeah, or just things that I just kind of don't care about anymore. Like, review scores these days, I think doesn't actually necessarily indicate whether a game is good or not, or whether I would personally enjoy it or not. So I'm finding that I'm trying to get my information from other avenues, and I definitely think that reviews still hold a place, and I still watch reviews regularly. But when it comes to the actual specific score, I just don't think I care about that stuff as much anymore.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to, justify watching 10 reviews of 10 different games and you see that they've all been given the same score, like 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, which for some reason people believe anything under a 7 is not going to be a good game, that anything 8 or above, that should be worth your time, which is bizarre. Honestly, when a new game comes out that I'm a little bit interested in, or that's piqued my interest, I generally wait for the games to come out and then wait for the Steam reviews to hit. Because when the Steam reviews do hit, these are actual people or gamers who have spent their hard-earned money buying and playing it, and their word matters more than some professional journalism from some outlet who's been gifted 50 keys or the special Uber edition of this game to play it early, because they don't spend their hard-earned money on this. They just obviously get gifted the game. Yeah. So to me, when I watch reviews now, I take it with a grain of salt, especially now these days, because when you hear the reviewers speak, it seems like they say everything about the same game, just tweaked differently into what game they're playing, essentially. And I always pinpoint, I'm like, I guarantee you this game's going to be a 7 out of 10, and surprise, surprise, 7 out of 10.
you kind of alluded to it before, but if a review score doesn't serve as a reliable way for you to determine whether you do or don't want to purchase a game anymore, what do you think actually replaces that, or what works more effectively for you when it comes to influencing your decision with purchasing a game or not?
Yeah, it's a really great question. It comes down to obviously a lot of different factors. Like one I mentioned before is like watching the Steam reviews and just seeing the game blow up dramatically overnight when people start playing it, like Battlefield 6 or Claire Obscure 33 or Baldur's Gate 3. Or if I played the game previously in a series, which obviously I'll refer back to is obviously the Battlefield series. Or if I played a beta or played a demo and I really like what the gameplay is showing or what they're making here. Or if I just see a bunch of videos on my feed, like TikTok feed, and I'm just like, you know what, this game kind of looks interesting. I might want to look into it and give it a shot, essentially.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, interesting that you mentioned Clair Obscur, because I feel like that is a game where if I had just seen a review and I had just seen that it was coming out, I wouldn't have had enough information, I don't think, or I don't think enough of it would have been there to draw me in. I'm only human, after all, okay? So if I see a big franchise like a Call of Duty or a Halo or something like that, if I see that there is an established IP or something that is recognizable, I'm probably more likely to go in and raw dog my purchase and just buy it without really thinking about it. But when it comes to, I guess, winning me over, a review score won't be enough. I would need to actually see more like a social proof or see... Like, I feel like I'm more influenced by influencers or people who are content creators that actually play it because they enjoy it. Or, I'm probably more influenced by like the everyday YouTuber or just some random Joe Schmo online who's just like making a review. That is more influential to me, or seeing a trend where everyone was just singing praises about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and just how good it was, like how it should be like Game of the Year and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right, that is what makes me want to play this game. I don't care about the reviews, but it's just what the social score or the social hubbub or hype is behind something. 100%. I think that is more credible. To me, it's kind of like how Google search these days has just gone to absolute shit. And a lot of people are saying that that's probably because of like Gemini and the implementation of AI. And it's really just a horrible experience trying to Google search anything these days. But the somewhat reliable alternative is actually trying to look up something on Reddit, or trying to finishing your query with Reddit at the end in the search bar. So that way you can try and find someone else's answer on Reddit instead of Google. And that feels more reliable. And it's almost like this social experience or social proof, rather than just something that's meant to be official or more professional, like their company that's established based on games journalism. So I think it might sound stupid, but I think just sometimes I feel like I can relate to the desires and interest of some random person on YouTube for some reason, or TikTok, especially if it's not like sponsored,
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying there, because when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, I had no idea what that game was about or why it was so big, but it was when I was on, my TikToks or my YouTubes and seeing people play it and praise it and seeing how much of an impact it had socially, it made me want to try it out and see exactly what this game was about. Same with other like small indie games like Lethal Company, just seeing those TikTok videos of just how crazy and wacky that game is. And more recently Peak, which is incredible and fun to play with your friends. Just that social impact that games have mostly influenced me to obviously maybe check this game out and maybe put my money, my hard-earned dollary dues on it just to see and experience it for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that this is probably like a bit of a shorter episode than usual, but that was kind of the crux of what I wanted to get down to, is just kind of identify.
I give it a 7 out of 10.
I give this conversation a 7 out of 10. This experience of talking with you, 7 out of 10. The campaign could have more work.
The campaign, 5 out of 10.
Honestly, man, I just think that it's interesting how consumer trends change. And if I went back in time to, 16, 17-year-old me, I would have sworn until I was black and blue in the face that, IGN reviews are like the best or whatever.
That Decibel review is the best.
Well, I mean, Look, I like I said, I still watch reviews. Like I find myself drawn to, there's like Mortismal Gaming. He does the reviews after he's 100% completed a game. That's like his shtick. I like, for the most part, Skill Up's reviews. I don't feel like I line up with a lot of his takes, but he has a really good way of expressing his thoughts and feelings on games in a way that I'm like, okay, that's a very compelling way of describing what your experience was. And he doesn't give a score. He just goes like, I recommend, I do not recommend, I strongly recommend, like that kind of shit. Also like Jake Baldino from Gameranx, where they do the whole before you buy thing, where it's kind of like, we've just got a bit of gameplay, and it's whether or not we had a really good time with it or not. It's not about scores, it's nothing like that. So there are a few recommendations from me and some of the content creators that I consume when it comes to, I guess, new game releases or game news or game opinions. Do you have anyone that you particularly watch when you're trying to keep an eye out for new games or whether or not you should buy a game? Or like you said before, do you kind of just stick to like Steam reviews and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, obviously the ones that you recommended, the one series is Before You Buy, I really do like that one, especially because it's mostly like, first impressions where they show just some general gameplay and obviously if you should spend your money on it. Mostly these days, sometimes I watch the occasional IGN review just to see, and generally, like I said, I take it with a grain of salt because these guys work under the pump and they have a deadline to pump this review out.
If I could just quickly add to that though, like I still watch, I think IGN reviews, GameSpot reviews, all that stuff. I still think it's important to watch those reviews.
I think it is too.
They have a lot of good information in there, but I think that it's more like the information that they like, the features and describing or kind of explaining like what you can expect. Like I feel like they're always spot on with what you can expect. But when it comes to the actual score, I feel like it can be really hit or miss. But I guess you can say that about anyone. So
yeah. I also do watch ACG. He's a very independent reviewer. He doesn't give a score. He gives a score if you should obviously buy it, wait for a sale, or not waste your money. I think he's a really good reviewer and really talks intellectually about obviously his journey with the video game and obviously how much he enjoyed it. So I think he's definitely a person to watch and obviously, influence your purchasing of a video game. And then obviously, Steam reviews, I like to read those as well.
Yeah, I like the funny ones. I like that you can filter them. One of my favorite parts of my week, obviously outside of talking with you for this show, David, is looking up for our gaming thumbnails for the Does This Game Still Hold Up series and just sifting through the funny Steam reviews left for games that we're revisiting. It's just like, it's
I love the funny ones.
People's creativity of how much they can fit into one sentence never ceases to amaze me. I love it.
My favorite ones is just like, played it for a bit, didn't like it, and it's just like a not recommended, and then you see their play times like 6,000 hours.
Yeah, or like the most recent one, I found that the Bioshock ones are pretty good. It's just like, the top one is just like, I had a child. It's just like, oh shit.
Thumbs up.
All right, well, cool. I'm happy to leave it there. David, thank you for imparting your opinion and wisdom upon me with how you feel about review scores and whether they are or aren't relevant anymore. Hey, would you look at that? You've made it through the entirety of this episode. Congratulations. This video is just one section of our weekly gaming podcast called Last Week in Gaming Today. If you're interested in checking out the full episode or more discussions like the one you've just watched, I'll leave a link to the podcast in the description and comment section below.